Hi, Jakey. You asked, what is a next practice lab? How can one define it? How can one talk about it? Well, it's a laboratory for the next practice. That is, we try to find out what our next social or cultural practice, for instance, using some kind of digital media or digital technologies. We meet, we test it out, we try it out, we try to find out what makes sense for us. So it's not just copying what we already do, it's changing what we already do to something we find more fun, more interesting, more important. To do that, well, I use the term experimenting community for the group of people trying out what the next practice should be. An experimenting community is both kids, grown-ups, social educators and children in a kindergarten or after-school club who together tries to find out through experimenting and playing what to do and how to do it. And both parties, the grown-ups and the children, are inside the process. Both parties ask, what might come out of this? We're not quite sure. We'll have to look at it. So the social educator is the preschool teacher, is part of the process just as well as the kids. But there's also another component that I use when I talk about next practice labs. That's the term, the open lab. And the open lab is that you deliberately choose to put different kinds of technologies, analog and digital, online and offline, from different traditions together in the same room. You're open to that. In that encounter, everything might change. So it's open to all media and all materials and all narratives, because everything's going to be remixed, transformed, changed into, in principle, new media, new technologies and new narratives. But the open laboratory is also open in another sense. It's open towards the world. So the pedagogical space is not just one single room. It is a room, a workplace, a makerspace that's connected to the world through YouTube, through Instagram, through Facebook, through whatever you're going to use. And part of the time spent in that laboratory is time spent communicating, playing and producing with somebody that's not there, who is not there at that very moment, to get inspiration, to challenge them, to exchange with them. Well, I know the term laboratory can be, well, what does he think of? Is it doctors in white suits in a hospital? And no, it's just trying to emphasize that a laboratory is a place where you try out things. So this term laboratory can also cover both a room that you have made specifically for a certain kind of activities. Here is the open lab, open this door and here it is. But it can also be something that happens in the very moment, anywhere, in the playground, in the streets, inside the kindergarten. It can happen whenever we choose it to be. So any ordinary kindergarten can, with a few digital tools, make a next practice lab. A next practice lab that talks about demonstrates, unfolds, tries to find out what is the next practice going to be. And why do I talk about experimenting and playing? Well, when I talk about experimenting, I talk about that you conduct experiments. You ask questions where the answers are not given in advance. You do not necessarily know what to do, what to respond. Otherwise, it's not an experiment. And playing is important because when children play on their own or together with grown-ups, they do something quite interesting. They're able to mix, they have an ability to repeat and change in the very next moment. They can improvise upon formulas. They can take a Spider-Man story and change it to something else. They can take a green screen technology and use it for purposes that those who made the green screen technology might not have thought about. And that's just ordinary kids and not, well, especially gifted kids. It happens in play. Play has this power to encounter the unknown. And that's why I think any kindergarten, any after-school club, any club, any what's called the third space, that is the space between home and school, can become a next practice lab, can become a makerspace that opens towards the world around it and opens to that even the existing traditions inside the makerspace can be changed if the participants want to, and if the pedagogy allows it, if the methods are constructed to do exactly that. So Jackie, that's my short talk about next practice labs with just me and the snow. And my experiment today was to walk in the snow and make this video. Have a nice conference. See you sometime later in the next practice lab that we can do together. See ya.